Hello guys. If your coffee is ready, game theory is starting.
Haha, I love it.
All right, everyone, get ready for this because we're going deep, really deep into something that's always blown my mind. What happens when humanity, us, actually meets, encounters an alien civilization?
Oh, yeah.
And we're not talking about like those little green men, the ones.
Yeah.
We're thinking bigger, way bigger, about civilizations that are just massive and a technology that's, well, probably beyond anything we can even imagine right now.
Yeah, definitely.
To help us wrap our heads around this, we're going to use this really cool framework called the Kardashev Scale.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Have you heard of it?
Oh, yeah, of course.
It's a way to classify civilizations based on, get this, how much energy they use.
Yeah, it's a really good way to kind of gauge where a civilization might be in terms of their advancement.
So, are you ready to go full-on sci-fi nerd with me today?
Always.
Awesome. So, this Kardashev scale thing, it's more than just sci-fi, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's a way to think about how powerful a civilization might be and what kind of cool tech they might have, all based on how much energy they can, grab and use.
So, you're saying that how much energy a civilization can use tells us how advanced they are.
Pretty much, yeah. It's like a measure of their progress.
Okay, so let's break it down a bit. What are the different levels on this scale?
Okay, so there's type 1, type 2, type 3.
And what do they mean?
Right, okay, so a type 1 civilization, they're pretty awesome. They've figured out how to use all the energy of their whole planet. Think about that.
That's why.
And then there's type 2.
Even more awesome.
Way more awesome. They can use the energy of their star, their whole sun, and then type 3.
Okay, this is getting crazy.
They've got the power of a whole galaxy.
It's hard to even imagine, but here's the big question. Where do we, humanity, fit into all of this? Are we the energy newbies, or are we on our way to becoming a galactic powerhouse?
Well, we're somewhere in between. Right now, we're hanging out at about type 0.72.
0.72.
Which means we're only using a tiny bit of all the energy that our planet has.
That's kind of humbling.
Yeah, we've come a long way from when we were back at type 0 just a few centuries ago.
Right, we were practically cavemen.
Haha, kind of. But we still got a lot of work to do before we hit that type 1 level.
I guess it makes you think about all the steps we had to take to get where we are now. What were some of those big moments that pushed us up the Kardashev scale? How did we even get to type 0.72?
Well, think about the Industrial Revolution. That was a huge turning point for how much energy we were using. We went from basically just using our muscles and some simple tools to using fossil fuels. That was a big deal.
So steam engines and those factories that ran on coal, not exactly the greenest things in the world, but I guess they really changed the game for our energy use.
Exactly.
What about the next big jump? How did we get to type 0.5?
That came with figuring out electricity and building better energies. Think about the late 1800s, early 1900s.
Oh, so things like power grids and factories.
Yeah.
Making tons of stuff.
Yeah, those things helped us use a lot more of Earth's energy.
Okay, I'm starting to see the pattern here. So we got steam power, electricity. What comes next? How do we go from this type 0.72 to actually becoming a full-blown type 1 civilization?
It's all about figuring out how to use renewable energy sources in a big way.
Like solar, wind, all that stuff.
Yep, and geothermal and maybe even fusion power. We're talking about a future where we're not using fossil fuels so much anymore. Our cities would be powered by clean energy.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, that's what a type 1 civilization would look like.
Okay, I love that vision. But here's where it gets even more interesting to me. Let's say we're out there exploring and we run into another civilization, but they're still back at type 0 or 0.5. How would that interaction go? Would it be all friendly, sharing knowledge and stuff? Or could things get a little, messy?
That's where it gets really interesting. Even if a type 0 or 0.5 civilization doesn't have tech as advanced as ours, it doesn't mean things would be simple.
Right, because they'd still be intelligent beings with their own ideas and goals.
Exactly, and think about it. Even with less advanced tech, they could still be a challenge, depending on what they wanted to do. And how we acted would make a big difference too.
Okay, so it wouldn't be just take me to your leader and everything's cool.
Probably not. It could go a lot of different ways. There are good scenarios and, well, not so good ones.
Give me some examples. What's a best case scenario and a worst case scenario?
Okay, imagine this. We meet a type C civilization that's totally peaceful and curious about us. We could share what we know, help them develop tech that wouldn't hurt their planet, and maybe even learn some cool things from their culture. That's a win-win, right?
That's a really optimistic sci-fi movie where everyone benefits. But you said there are worst case scenarios too. What would those look like?
Well, on the other hand, imagine if we showed up and they got scared or felt threatened. We could accidentally hurt them, mess up their society, or even get pulled into their problems. It's a good reminder that even if we're trying to be good, things can go wrong when one side has a lot more power than the other.
It's like that saying, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, right?
Yeah, exactly. So even encounters with civilizations that aren't as advanced as us could be tricky, with both good and bad possibilities.
That's a lot to think about. about. And that's only considering civilizations that are kind of close to us on the Kardashev scale. What happens when we run into a civilization that's way ahead of us? Like, what if they're a type 1?
Oh, wow. Now that's when things get really mind-blowing. Just imagine a civilization that has total control over their planet's energy. They could be doing things with technology and science that we can't even dream of.
I'm already getting chills. So on one hand, it would be an incredible opportunity to learn from them. But on the other hand, it's kind of scary, right? What are some of the risks of meeting a type 1 civilization?
Well, one risk is that they might see us as a threat or, a resource they could use. What if they're expanding and they want our planet? Or what if they need something that we have? It wouldn't be a fun situation.
Yikes. Okay, that's definitely something to consider.
And don't forget about the idea of hegemony.
Hegemony.
Yeah, it's like control, but not necessarily in a violent way.
Yeah.
A type 1 civilization might not want to destroy us, but they might want to control us, like limit our tech or make us part of their little galactic empire.
So it could be like having a super advanced older sibling who's either really helpful or really controlling.
Exactly. Either way, they would have a lot of power over us.
Okay, that's a lot to process.
Yeah.
It makes you really think about our values, what's important to us as a species, and how we would handle such a complicated situation.
It definitely does.
Wow, this is heavy stuff.
Yeah.
But we've only just scratched the surface here. What happens when we meet civilizations that are even further up the Kardashev scale? Like those type 2 civilizations that can control the energy of their entire star. Stay tuned, because things are about to get even crazier.
So we've talked about meeting civilizations that are, a little behind us or maybe just a step ahead on this Kardashev scale. But now, buckle up. We're going to jump to type 2 civilizations. These guys, they're not messing around. They've gone way past using just their planet's energy.
They're playing in the big leagues now.
Yeah, exactly. They figured out how to use the energy of their whole star.
Okay, hold on. We're talking about harnessing the power of an entire star. That's like straight out of science fiction. How can we even begin to understand that kind of energy? It's mind-blowing.
It really is. We're talking about civilizations that could build things like, Dyson spheres.
Dyson spheres, those theoretical megastructures that like wrap around a star to capture all its energy.
Yeah, exactly. Can you imagine the technology they would have to be able to do that?
It boggles the mind. Okay, so if we're being optimistic, a type 2 civilization could be super advanced, right? Maybe even friendly and willing to share some of their cosmic wisdom. What would that even look like? Could they teach us how to harness the power of stars too?
That's the dream scenario, right? Imagine working with a civilization that's thousands of years ahead of us. They could teach us about advanced physics, how to travel between stars, maybe even help us solve some of the big problems we have here on Earth. But, and this is a big but, even if they have good intentions, things could still go wrong.
Right, because we're talking about a civilization with a massive technological advantage. Even a small misunderstanding could have some pretty bad consequences. They could probably destroy a planet without even breaking a sweat.
It's a humbling thought, isn't it? We like to think we're pretty smart. Compared to a type 2 civilization, we'd be like ants trying to figure out a computer.
So even if they're not trying to be mean, just the fact that they're so powerful could be a threat to us. What if they don't even notice us? Or what if we're just in their way?
Yeah, those are some of the tough questions that we have to think about when we imagine meeting civilizations that are so far beyond us. Imagine they're building some massive structure in space and we just happen to be in the way. They might not even realize we're there as they change the galaxy to suit their needs.
It's a reality check, for sure.
Yeah.
It reminds us that the universe doesn't revolve around us. What we think is important might not even register to a civilization that can build things on a galactic scale.
Exactly. And it's not just about physical power either. Think about cultural differences. Their whole understanding of reality, their ethics, their values, it can be so different from ours that we might not even be able to communicate.
It'd be like trying to explain democracy to a colony of bacteria. They wouldn't even have the context to understand it.
That's a perfect analogy. And it highlights another problem. Even if they wanted to help us, how could they do it without completely changing our society, our culture, our whole way of thinking?
It's like that saying, never meet your hero. The reality of meeting a type 2 civilization might be so different from what we expect from all our sci-fi fantasies that it could shatter our whole understanding of the universe.
And that's just type 2 civilizations. Don't forget, there are even higher levels on the Kardashev scale.
Right, type 3, type 4, even type 5, civilizations that control the energy of whole galaxies or multiple galaxies or even the entire universe.
Exactly. So meeting a type 2 civilization might seem like the ultimate sci-fi scenario, but they might just be small fish compared to some of these other even more advanced civilizations out there.
My head is spinning. Okay, what could those higher level civilizations even be like? What would it mean for us if we met a civilization that could, like, change reality itself?
Now we're getting into truly mind-bending territory. It's almost impossible to even guess.
Come on, let's try. What are some of the craziest ideas out there about what a type 3, 4, or 5 civilization could do?
Imagine civilizations that can create new galaxies, make black holes whenever they want, or even change the laws of physics. They might exist outside of time and space as we understand it, or maybe they've evolved beyond physical bodies altogether. We're talking about power on a scale we can barely imagine.
Ooh, okay, my brain just exploded. It's both terrifying and exciting to think that civilizations like that could exist. It makes our planet seem so incredibly tiny and insignificant.
It really does put things into perspective, doesn't it? The universe is so vast and the possibilities are endless.
It makes you wonder, would a type 4 or 5 civilization even notice us? Or would we be like a speck of dust to them?
That's the big question, isn't it? And it leads to some pretty deep philosophical questions.
Like, what does it even mean to exist if there are civilizations out there that can change reality itself? What happens to free will, our purpose, the meaning of life?
Those are questions that have been around for centuries. I don't think there are any easy answers, but I think it's important to keep asking those questions, to keep exploring the possibilities, even if they challenge everything we think.
It's about pushing the boundaries of our imagination and being open to the unknown, right? Even if it leads to more questions than answers.
Exactly. And who knows, maybe by exploring these seemingly impossible scenarios, we'll learn more about ourselves, our potential, and the incredible journey that lies ahead for humanity.
Okay, so we've gone from imagining encounters with slightly less advanced civilizations to thinking about these godlike beings who can change reality. It's been quite a trip, but let's bring it back down to earth for a minute. What does all of this mean for us right here, right now? What can we learn from the Kardashev Scale and the possibility of meeting these super advanced civilizations?
So we've been thinking about all these different levels of civilizations on the Kardashev scale.
It's wild, right? Yeah, from those that are a little behind us to those type 5, like ultimate beings that could change the entire universe. It's been amazing, but kind of scary too, you know?
Yeah, definitely a lot to process.
But you said something earlier that really stuck with me about how the Kardashev Scale isn't just about like ranking civilizations, but it's about potential.
Exactly. It shows how much we could grow, how much we could achieve, maybe even like transcend our current limit.
So it's not just a measuring stick, but more like a roadmap to the future. What can we actually learn from thinking about these crazy possibilities?
Well, for one thing, it shows just how important energy is. I mean, right now we're fighting over oil and gas, trying to figure out how to make clean energy work.
Yeah, and it doesn't seem to be going so well.
Right. But imagine a future where we've cracked fusion power or even learned to use the energy of our sun. Energy becomes this amazing tool for creating and inventing new things.
It's like going from using fire to cook to using it to power Starship.
Exactly. But it's not just the technology, it's how we think. The Kardashev Scale makes us think bigger beyond our current problems and limitations to a future where humanity becomes this planet-wide or even galaxy-wide civilization.
Okay, I love that. But let's be real for a second. We've got some serious problems right now, like climate change, inequality, all that. How can we even think about reaching for the stars when we can't even solve these problems here on Earth?
That's a good point. Those are real challenges, and they're important. But I think that thinking about the Kardashev Scale can actually help us find solutions to those problems.
Really?
How?
Well, a Type 1 civilization, to even get there, they'd have to figure out how to use energy in a way that doesn't destroy their planet. They'd need to cooperate globally and manage their resources responsibly. Those are the exact skills we need to deal with climate change and make things fairer for everyone.
So you're saying trying to become a more advanced civilization forces us to fix our problems. Kind of. It's like necessity is the mother of invention. Problems we have now could be what pushes us to create the innovations that'll take us up the Kardashev Scale.
Okay, that's actually pretty hopeful. It means our struggles aren't just roadblocks, but maybe stepping stones to something better.
Exactly. And remember, it's not all about spaceships and lasers. The Kardashev Scale is also about how we evolve as a species.
What do you mean by that?
Imagine a future where humanity has figured out how to stop war and poverty and disease. We've created advanced tech, but not to conquer or make money, but to improve life for everyone. We understand the universe and our place in it in ways we can't even imagine now. That's the kind of civilization that could reach those high levels on the Kardashev Scale.
That sounds amazing, almost too good to be true. But is it really possible? Can we really overcome all our problems and become that kind of civilization?
That's the big question, isn't it? And honestly, I don't know the answer, but I think just asking that question, trying to achieve something bigger than ourselves, that's what makes.
So even if we never reach Type 3, 4, or 5, the journey itself is worth it.
Totally. The journey is where we learn and grow and figure out what we're truly capable of.
It's about expanding our minds, pushing the limits of what we think is possible, and maybe, just maybe, leaving a positive impact on the universe.
Well said.
So there you have it, everyone. We've taken this deep dive into the Kardashev Scale, thought about meeting other civilizations, and explored the possibilities for humanity's future. It's been a crazy ride, but hopefully it's made you curious and excited about what might be out there.
And remember, the conversation doesn't end here. We want to hear from you. What are you excited about? What are you worried about? What kind of future do you want to create? Let us know in the comments, and let's boring together.
Until next time, keep looking up. So thanks for joining us on this journey. It's been quite a ride.
My pleasure.
Don't forget to like and subscribe. Until we see you in the next video, game over.